Get knocked, Sparta! No hug needed!
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're at the final press conference for Benn Van Heerden, 2 days away from fight night at the AO Arena. Why should everyone tune into the Zone this Saturday?
Because Conor Benn's one of the biggest stars in the sport. He's one of the most exciting fighters on the planet. And I think this is a good test. I mean, look, it's the first southpaw he's ever faced. You know what, like, even 6 months ago, people didn't seem to be rating Conor Benn. Now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, Van Heerden's an easy fight. He's got to go and fight Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, whoever. And, you know, as Van Heerden said there, his last fight was against Jaron Ennis, headlining on Showtime. It was a no contest. He took that fight on 2 weeks' notice. He's a tough man, emotional man, been through a lot. And I think he's going to be fighting with a lot of will on Saturday. As well as Chris Billam-Smith against Tommy McCarthy. It's a brilliant fight. Alicia Baumgardner over there. It's a good card, and I think you're seeing one of the best welterweights in the world.
Yeah, Eddie, you asked about Chris Van Heerden's dad, who unfortunately passed away, and he really opened up there.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine talking about, you know, your father when he's been brutally murdered? Like, I mean, even losing a father is tough, but in the way that he lost his father. And, you know, he talks about Conor Benn being an emotional fighter. He's an emotional fighter right now. But everything that he talks about is this is the moment that him and his dad dreamed of forever, like being in a big arena fight like this in the UK. So he's a tough man, a very tough man. But I tell you, Conor Benn is dangerous and spiteful and brutal, and he wants to take people out. And as he said, if he sees any opening, he's going to take him out. And the important thing as well is fighting a southpaw. You know, he's never boxed a southpaw in his whole career in 20 fights. You cannot get to elite level and have to fight a Errol Spence or a brilliant southpaw, having never faced one. So it's going to be interesting to see how Conor Benn deals with that. But I expect a spiteful performance. But I also expect a tough Van Heerden. And I think he could go deep, but I think Conor's going to look brilliant. And then we need to make a big fight for the summer.
Yeah, I was just going to come on to that. Realistically, it's not going to be Brook or Khan, so what is it for Conor Benn?
I mean, I think, look, Amir's coming on set. I think Amir wants the fight now, you know, but Amir now talks about actually wanting to come back and have a fight first and then fight Conor. I think he's got an appetite to carry on in that respect. The Brook fight's the fight to make, but, you know, we made him a big offer. They asked for £10 million, so obviously that's not realistic. But, you know, if it's not them, you've got Broner, you've got Danny Garcia, you've got Mikey Garcia. They're the type of fights that we need to make for Conor. But let's see him get through Saturday, and then you'll see the big fights from Conor Benn. He wants them all. And, you know, he fills arenas in those kind of fights. You know, he's just done a big crowd in Liverpool. We've got a good crowd there on Saturday in Manchester. This is a kid from London. So I think his progression's been brilliant.
What is the attendance expected for Saturday?
Just under 6,000, something like that. So, you know, it's a kid from London boxing in Manchester. You've just had Brook Khan here as well. You've got Fury-Whyte next week. So we're happy. And I think it's not just about numbers. It's about taking him around the country and showcasing him as a star. And this kid is a global star. He's going to be in big welterweight fights, but he's got to win in what I think will be a much tougher fight than people expect.
Last one on Conor Benn. Hate to end on a negative note, but you did a piece with him that Matchroom put out. Carl Greaves quoted that and said that he's speechless. I think people are alluding to the fact that he said he's done British level, done European. Obviously, he hasn't boxed Esserman and Avanesian, British and European champ.
You can't, no disrespect to Esserman, you can't put Esserman anywhere near world level. You can put Avanesian on world level, and I've said it before, Avanesian's a world-class fighter. That's the type of fight we should be in next. But by the way, you think I'm going to put him in with Avanesian over Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, Adrian Broner, Kell Brook? Do me a favour, they sold about 400 tickets for Avanesian fight, right? Have you seen the viewing figures on BT? It was about 6,000 people averaged audience for David Avanesian to fight, right? He has just boxed. I mean, what was the last fight he boxed? Metz, right? Liam Taylor before that. No disrespect to Liam Taylor. He couldn't win a British title. He boxed Metz, right? It was one of the most horrendous pieces of matchmaking I have ever seen. It was embarrassing, right? And you want to call out one of the biggest stars in world boxing, Conor Benn. Listen, Avanesian, world-class fighter, not disputing that. But I need a guy and a fight that's going to fill up a big arena in the UK where worldwide audiences are going to clamour for. Not a guy that's just sold 400 tickets and done a 6,000 audience. I'll give him the respect of being a world-class fighter. And listen, if we can't get a big name, we'll fight Avanesyan, no problem. But he ain't on the top of the shopping list, that's for sure. And Carl Greaves can be as speechless if he wants. Have a real fight. Not Metz, whoever that geezer was, because that was embarrassing. How BT even allowed that show to take place, it was a shocking decision for their boxing archive, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, moving on from that one. Heavyweight talk, I guess there's no update on Usyk Joshua.
No, only that we're reviewing a number of contracts in terms of sites for that fight. I had a missed call from Krasuk yesterday. I called him back and we missed each other, so I'll be speaking to him today. The fights, that's the fight. You're not going to see any other fight for both guys than Joshua against Usyk, and we just need to confirm where it will take place, and we'll give you guys an announcement.
What have you made of Gareth A. Davis' outburst that it shouldn't take place in Saudi Arabia? He's been quite passionate about that.
Gareth's very passionate about a lot of things. I mean, I don't know his reasoning for that. I mean, we did the fight with Andy Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. It was a huge success. You have to understand as well that Alexander Usyk is on a split in this fight, right? It's not just a case of, if we do this fight in London, we want to do this fight in London, unquestionably. But we will also provide half the revenue that we would to do it internationally. You think I'm going to go to Alex Krasuk and say, oh, good news, mate, we're doing it in London and you're getting half the money? No, it's a split for this fight. They want us to consider all viable options in terms of fights and sites that are going to create the most revenue for this fight. So, with all due respect to Gareth A. Davis, that's right up there with the Carl Greaves Metz argument, right? Irrelevant.
I think his point was what's been going on in Ukraine, because London's a news hub, a media centre, his message can get out better rather than Saudi.
I love Gareth A. Davis, but shut up. Shut up. It's a fight, right? They're prize fighters. They're going in there for our entertainment and putting their health, their life on the line to have a fight. I'm going to make them as much money as possible. I'll tell you what we can do, or if we want, we'll take the option where they don't make anywhere near as much money and Gareth A. Davis can top it up.
That's that one done. What did you make of Dillian Whyte posting about the Fury fight yesterday?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably contractual. I mean, you know, sooner or later he has to post. I spoke to him this morning, actually, and a couple of days ago, just talking about Conor Benn, actually, and he's in a great place. He's ready to fight. I think, it'd be interesting to see next week. I don't know the obligations that he's under next week, but listen, he has no problem going face-to-face with Tyson Fury and doing press conferences, but obviously there's been a lot of arguments behind the scenes, some which I'm privy to, some that I'm not privy to. But certainly looking forward to the fight.
He's doing a press conference today.
Yeah, so, I think ultimately he's going to have to do these things contractually. But I don't know if other things have been sorted out. If they have, maybe it was a trade-off. I enjoyed the chat on TalkSport, that with Benz and Frank.
Who won?
I think Frank probably. I mean, they both had some valid points. But Frank's points were very valid. You signed a contract, but ultimately he signed a contract because they run out of time and they were going to lose the fight. But they were promised other things that weren't in the contract that never materialised, apparently. But, I wasn't involved, so I don't know the truth. But Jeffrey Benz is, I like Jeffrey Benz, he's an interesting character. But he's also not really the guy you want to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Your reaction to the highest grossing event at Wembley, Fury-Whyte, it's broken Adele's record.
Yeah, I don't know the grossing number, but it's a big fight, and I think the World Heavyweight Championship, is always a big occasion. It's a big domestic fight. I think the first time there's been a domestic heavyweight World Championship fight since, correct. So, two Brits going for the World Heavyweight Championship, big fight.
$70 on ESPN pay-per-view and $24.95 on BT Sport box office. Thoughts on them prices?
I think, firstly, I think the American pay-per-view pricing model is just wrong in general. Secondly, that's going to do horrendous numbers in America, but it's going to do great numbers in the UK. $24.99 I think is fair if it had an undercard, which it doesn't. I spoke to Coogan about that the other day, but also at the same time, that's the price for an AJ fight, $24.99. And I think, you've got the $19.99 price point and you've got the $24.99. AJ was the guy that sort of took it to $24.99, not him personally, but because of the size of him. And this is a big fight, so I don't think that's an unfair price point.
A few weeks ago, you told me you think it does 600 to 700k buys on BT. Still the same?
Yeah, I think it does. It does 1 million to 1.1, maybe, one on Sky. And I think it does 600 to 700,000 on BT.
Even though they sold 94,000 tickets?
That doesn't really have a bearing. I mean, I've done fights that have sold 80,000 or 90,000 for Klitschko. And that was 1.15 million on Sky. That was a big fight at the time. But look, it's a big fight, and it's not. That's a good number. What's the biggest BT pay-per-view previously?
800,000 for Fury-Wilder, one of the fights. I can't remember which one.
Absolute bollocks. Absolute bollocks. 800,000 for middle of the night. No way, Jose. No way.
What is the record, you know?
No, but it's never done anywhere near those kind of numbers. So this is, and a lot go. Also, one of the biggest problems right now is illegal streaming for pay-per-view events, for all subscription channels, because anybody can find a stream for these fights. We need to clamp down, because it's not fair for the fighters, because too many people seeking illegal streams, and there's too many available. When I was doing pay-per-views on Sky, we were putting provisions in place to try and effectively stop that, and it's difficult. It's difficult. So I think that's affected pay-per-view numbers in general over the last two years.
You going to buy it?
If I'm at home, yes, I would buy it.
Go war mode. Ready?
Might do. Sit in the stands.
Go war mode. Why does Dillian Whyte beat Tyson Fury?
I just think I'm not going to sit here and start telling you he wins because this and that. But what I will tell you is he can win this fight. Right? He has the ability to take people out with one shot. He's technically a lot better than people think. He's incredibly fit. He's incredibly durable. He has a big set of balls. It's going to be very difficult to get in a rhythm against Tyson Fury. I expect Tyson Fury to be winning the fight, maybe at all times during the fight. But if he switches off for one moment, Dillian Whyte, who's a fantastic body puncher and has a fantastic left hook that can take you out with one shot, Dillian can win this fight. He's the underdog in the fight. I think Tyson Fury is a brilliant heavyweight. He's the best heavyweight in the world right now on paper. And he's a favourite in the fight. But Dillian Whyte can win this fight if he gets it right, or if they trade up. And they will trade up. Trust me, they'll trade up in this fight. You could see a knockout like Whyte-Chisora. That moment where they trade up. If Tyson Fury gets buttoned by Dillian Whyte's left hook, it's over.
Do you think he's the bigger puncher, Dillian Whyte?
Over Tyson Fury, without question. In terms of left hooks, unquestionably. I don't think Tyson Fury is a big puncher. That everyone can punch, but Dillian Whyte with his left hook is probably one of the best left hookers. In the division, but even in the sport, he has got a fantastic left hook, and he'll catch and counter. Watch the Povetkin knockdowns, watch the Chisora knockouts, and if he does that against Tyson Fury, he'll win the fight.
I will just say, people get onto me. Fury's got a bigger stoppage ratio than Whyte, so
I don't. Yeah, but look at his resume as well.
Wilder, Klitschko, Chisora.
He stopped Klitschko retired. Chisora retired on his stool or wherever it was because he was just like getting peppered, and But show me the clean knockouts that Tyson Fury has had in his career against any elite opposition. Go on. Show me a proper stoppage. Like the Wilder fight, last fight, I'll give you that. But previously, it's volume punches. He's not a one-punch knockout artist. And his level of opposition, when you go back and you start looking at like Tom Schwartz, Sefer Seferi, who's that other bloke he boxed? Pianetta, Christian Hammer. Anyway, I won't get into it. But my opinion, you got one, right? Slightly, bizarre opinions. But on a serious note, I'm entitled to my opinion, and that's my opinion. Good puncher, not a big puncher. Dillian Whyte is a left hook knockout artist.
Last one on this. Can you make any comment on the arbitration situation with the split? That's gone quiet, White in the WBC.
There's a lot of legal activity ongoing between Dillian Whyte and the WBC. That activity, during this whole process with this fight, and during that process, I've been supporting these guys. I've been helping them. I'm not obligated to do so, but it's just a relationship we've got, and I'm not involved directly with the contract for this fight, with the Fury fight, or with a contract for the legal dispute with the WBC. I'm aware of it. I can't give you enough information. Most of it's confidential anyway, but that is ongoing, and there's going to be a lot to discuss.
Two quick things. Andy Ruiz v Tyrone Spong on Triller.
Weird. I was a bit disappointed with that. I got a text PBC guys, because presumably has he left PBC? I don't know. But I wanted him to fight Chisora. I thought it was a great fight. So a bit disappointed that he's taken that fight. But it's in Mexico apparently. So,
Could big numbers.
And Spong was supposed to fight Usyk, my show, and he failed a drug test on the week of the fight.
Last one, I spoke to your colleague Frank Smith about this yesterday. A lot of casual kind of fans, when they go to pubs and bars, obviously don't get DAZN fights at the moment. You do get in the US, but are you going to speak to pubs and bars?
It's something that we're working on at the moment because the demand has been incredible for that reason. Pub owners, people going out, want to watch the fights, and they want to watch the fights on DAZN, especially when you're talking about the schedule that we've got. You know, Gennady Golovkin last week, Ryan Garcia as well, Conor Benn this weekend, you've got Taylor Serrano, Canelo Bivol, etc. So that's definitely something that's going to be working on, and big news as well in terms of other big tie-ups that are going to be approaching in the summer. And there's a lot of big news coming for DAZN in that respect, and also with the respect to getting it on licensed premises as well.
Is that happening because the BT deal was lost in terms of linear content? Is that what you're talking about?
I think that's very important for the platform, is to have a linear partner, and that's obviously been in discussion for a long time, and there'll be some announcements on that soon. But we're in a good place, you know, we really are. I think the schedule is unrivaled in terms of global boxing, and looking forward to this weekend. Taylor Serrano is going to be massive, Canelo Bivol, and then got big plans. Obviously AJ fights, looks like end of June, July. I'm looking forward to making some big fights this summer.
Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, thank you.
You get knocked, Sparta! No hug needed!
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.